topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Draw me close to you, never let me go. I lay it all down again to hear you say that I'm a friend.
Today, the Almighty Creator desires a deep personal relationship with you. My name is James Robertson. I'm a researcher, publisher, and teacher regarding the matters and truths of the Almighty Creator, whose true name is Yah, the eternally self-existing. I've been actively serving him since 1993, over 31 years. If you're not actively serving Yah, then by default you're serving Satan. My objective is to show you how you can make a big difference on earth and qualify for a position of high esteem in heaven for eternity. It's important to understand that as a believer, just being good is not the point. It is relationship with Yah that counts. Without this, you will be in a very unpleasant place in heaven with no way out. My aim is to show you how to get close to Father. If you're a good person without a clear relationship with Yah, then you're in a spiritual no man's land and will not enter heaven when you die. The Creator has said regarding unbelievers, why would I want someone to spend eternity with me when they do not believe I exist? Yah is calling everybody on the planet to be involved and serve him and help him to have victory over Satan. My goal is to show you how to do this. Fundamentally, we each need to learn to see things on earth from Yah's perspective. My aim is to teach you how. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org. That's endtimeissueministries, one word, .org, or email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org. That's JAMES @endtimeissueministries.org. Today we're going to carry on with part 2 of the testimony of Pontius Pilate regarding Yahooshua, and then we'll have a look at the essence of what our Father wants from you. So the overview. This is a continuation of the letter of Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who presided over the sentencing of Yahooshua, incorrectly Jesus, to the Roman Emperor Caesar about the life, death, and resurrection of Yahooshua. It's vitally important independent testimony about the reality of Yahooshua. The letter of Pontius Pilate to Caesar is completed with a discussion of the events leading up to the execution of Yahooshua and what followed immediately afterwards. We then look at the essence of what our Father wants from you. This is including looking at drawing close to him, seeking to become his friend, dialoguing with him constantly, cleaning up one's life, and living free of sin and worshipping daily. Finally, we'll look at the state of your relationship with the Almighty Creator. So this broadcast is based on the article 240403, transcript of Acta Pilate, letter of Pontius Pilate to Caesar about Yahooshua, Jesus, incorrectly Jesus, his execution, incorrectly crucifixion, and resurrection. In summary, Pontius Pilate, the governor of Judea who authorized the execution of Yahooshua, writes to Caesar, the emperor of Rome, about the life, death, and resurrection of Yahooshua. This is a powerful confirmation of the truth of the books of the good news or gospels in the Bible, but goes beyond that. We're continuing where the wife of Pontius Pilate warns him not to have anything to do with the death of Yahooshua. Pilate writes in his letter to Caesar, quote, "By this time the marble stair groaned under the weight of the multitude. The Nazarene was brought back to me. I proceeded to the halls of justice, followed by my guard, and asked the people in a severe tone what they demanded. The death of the Nazarene," was the reply. For what crime? I asked him, he says. Quote, he has blasphemed. He has prophesied the ruin of the temple. He calls himself the Son of Yah, or incorrectly God, the Messiah, incorrectly, or more correctly, the Anointed One, the King of the Jews. Roman justice, said I, this is Pilate, punishes not such offences with death. Execute him, cried the relentless rabble. The vociferations of the infuriated mob shook the palace to its foundations. So what we find here, he has blasphemed. Here he has the human manifestation of the first created spirit who spent huge amount of time helping Yah with the creation, who knows Yah intimately, and yet they accuse him of blasphemy. And then they say that he's prophesied the ruin of the temple. Well, you should fear that. If a prophet, a spokesman, is prophesying doom, gloom, whatever, it's a warning to change your behavior. They didn't get that either. He calls himself the Son of Yah. Well, anybody who's a believer is actually a son or a daughter of Yah. So what's their point? He calls himself the Messiah, the Anointed One. And here we get this incorrect use of this term Messiah, derived from the Hebrew Masach, which means anointed with the Spirit of Yah. So he makes the claim. He does the works, and they don't get it. And then finally they proclaim he should die because he calls himself the King of the Jews. Well, by killing him, they made him the King of the Jews. And that's a whole topic in its own right. Read the article on the website, the miracle of the death of Yeshua. So again, we see this thing of the believers calling out for destruction and the Roman calling out for mercy. Pilate continues, there was but one who appeared to be calm in the midst of the vast multitude. It was the Nazarene. After many fruitless attempts to protect him from the fury of his merciless persecutors, I adopted a measure which at the moment appeared to be the only one that could save his life. I proposed, as it was their custom to deliver a prisoner on such occasions, to release Yeshua and let him go free, that he might be the scapegoat, as they called it. But they said Yeshua must be executed, incorrectly crucified. I then spoke to them of the inconsistency of their course as being incompatible with their laws, showing that no criminal judge could pass sentence on a criminal unless he had fasted one whole day, and that the sentence must have the consent of the Sanhedrin and the signature of the president of that court, that no criminal could be executed on the same day his sentence was fixed, and the next day, on the day of his execution, the Sanhedrin was required to review the whole proceeding. Also, according to their law, a man was stationed at the door of the court with a flag, another a short way off on horseback, to cry the name of the criminal and his crime and the names of his witnesses, and to know if anyone could testify in his favor. And the prisoner on his way to execution had the right to turn back 3 times and to plead any new thing in his favor. I urged all these pleas, hoping they might awe them into subjection. But they still cried, execute him, execute him. This is a much more vivid picture than we get from the Bible, and it's important, folks, just to get the reality of Yeshua. And I've stressed that throughout these 2 sessions. Pilate continues, I then ordered Yeshua to be scourged, hoping this might satisfy them, but it only increased their fury. I then called for a basin and washed my hands in the presence of the clamorous multitude, thus testifying that in my judgment, Yeshua of Nazareth, had done nothing deserving of death, but in vain. It was his life these wretches thirsted for. Often in our civil commotions have I witnessed the furious anger of the multitude, but nothing could be compared to what I witnessed on this occasion. It might have been truly said that all the phantoms of the infernal regions had assembled at Jerusalem. The crowd appeared not to walk, but to be borne off and whirled as a vortex, rolling along in living waves from the portals of the Praetorium even unto Mount Zion, with howling screams, shrieks, and vociferations such as were never heard in the seditions of the Pannonia or in the tumults of the Forum. So there's another piece that's not in the Bible. Howling screams, shrieks, vociferations, furious anger. Might have been truly said that all the phantoms of the infernal region had assembled at Jerusalem, appeared not to walk, borne off and whirled as a vortex, rolling along in living waves. So what we see here is a massive demonic manifestation as the agents of Satan think that they're triumphant and that they are going to destroy and kill Yeshua before he can take control of the earth, and they completely miss the point, and so they actually do what Yah wants them to do, which is to execute Yeshua at Golgotha. Pilate continues, by degrees the day darkened like a winter's twilight, such as had been at the death of the great Julius Ceaser. It was likewise the Ides of March. I, the continued governor of a rebellious province, was leaning against a column of my basilic, contemplating athwart the dreary gloom these fiends of Tartarus dragging to execution the innocent Nazarene. All around me was deserted. Jerusalem had vomited forth her indwellers through the funeral gate that leads to Germanica. An air of desolation and sadness enveloped me. My guards had joined the cavalry, and the centurion, with a display of power, was endeavoring to keep order. I was left alone, and my breaking heart admonished me that what was passing at that moment appertained rather to the history of the gods than that of men. A loud clamour was heard proceeding from Golgotha, which, borne on the winds, seemed to announce an agony such as was never heard by mortal ears. Dark clouds lowered over the pinnacle of the temple, and setting over the city, covered it as with a veil. So dreadful were the signs that men saw both in the heavens and on the earth, that Dionysius the Areopagite is reported to have exclaimed, either the author of nature is suffering, or the universe is falling apart. I hope that passage moves you like it moves me, to realize the sacrifice that he made for us. And if you haven't got it, Yeshua died a terrible death to take your sins and set you free. And if you're not embracing that, if you're not walking in that, you're making a terrible mistake. Pilate continues. Whilst these appalling scenes of nature were transpiring, there was a dreadful earthquake in Lower Egypt, which filled everybody with fear and scared the superstitious Jews almost to death. It is said Balthazar, an aged and learned Jew of Antioch, was found dead after the excitement was over. Whether he died from alarm or grief is not known. He was a strong friend of the Nazarene. Near the first hour of the night, I threw my mantle around me and went down into the city towards the gates of Golgotha. The sacrifice was consummated. The crowd was returning home, still agitated, it is true, but gloomy, taciturn, and desperate. What they had witnessed had stricken them with terror and remorse. I also saw my little Roman cohort pass by mournfully, the standard bearer having veiled his eagle in token of grief. And I overheard some of the Jewish soldiers murmuring strange words which I did not understand. Others were recounting miracles very like those which have so often smitten the Romans by the will of the gods. Sometimes a group of men and women would halt, then looking back towards Mount Calvary, would remain motionless in expectation of witnessing some new prodigy. And so again we see the unbelievers more deeply moved by what happened to Yeshua. Folks, if you're a believer, you need to get it. And if you're not a believer, you need to get it. Yeshua came. He didn't have to come. He lived for a huge amount of time alongside Yah, partaking in the creation. He knew exactly what he was coming to. And yet he came and he willingly died so that you can say, Father, in the name of Yeshua, I confess that I've sinned, and I thank you for the blood of Yeshua, and I thank you that you forgive me. And if you don't do that after this broadcast, you are exceedingly unwise. Pilate continues, I returned to the praetorium, sad and pensive. On ascending the stairs, the steps of which were still stained with the blood of the Nazarene, I perceived an old man in a suppliant posture, and behind him several Romans in tears. He threw himself at my feet and wept most bitterly. It is painful to see an old man weep, and my heart being already overcharged with grief, we, those strangers, wept together. And in truth it seemed that the tears lay very shallow that day with many whom I perceived in the vast concourse of people. I never witnessed such an extreme revulsion of feeling. Those who betrayed and sold him, those who testified against him, those who cried, execute him, we have his blood, all slunk off like cowardly curs and washed their teeth with vinegar. As I'm told that Yeshua taught a resurrection and a separation after death, if such should be the fact, I'm sure it commenced in this vast crowd. Pilate continues, Father, said I to him, after gaining control of my feelings, who are you and what is your request? He said, I am Joseph of Arimathea. I am come to beg of you upon my knees the permission to bury Yeshua of Nazareth. Your prayer is granted, said I to him, and at the same time I ordered Manilius to take some soldiers with him to superintend the interment, lest it should be profaned. A few days after the sepulchre was found empty, his disciples proclaimed all over the country that Yeshua had risen from the dead, as he had foretold. This created more excitement even than the execution. As to its truth, I cannot say for certain, but I've made some investigation of the matter, so you can examine for yourself and see if I'm at fault, as Herod represents. So, excuse me. The sacrifice of Yeshua moves me deeply. If you don't understand how he hung on that stake, putting himself up with his arms so he could breathe, agony shooting through his wrists, slumping down, unable to breathe, taking the weight on the nail in his feet, pain, agony, pulling himself up and down and up and down. If you don't get that, if you don't understand what he went through, you will make light of his sacrifice. Pilate continues, Joseph buried Yeshua in his own tomb. Whether he contemplated his resurrection or calculated to cut him another, I cannot tell. The day after he was buried, one of his priests came to the praetorium and said they were apprehensive that his disciples intended to steal the body of Yahshua and hide it, and then make it appear that he'd risen from the dead as he'd foretold, of which they were perfectly convinced. I sent him to the captain of the royal guard, Malchus, to tell him to take the Jewish soldiers, place as many around the sepulchre as were needed then, and if anything should happen, they could blame themselves and not the Romans. So we see in Joseph a man who got it, a man who understood who Yahshua was, a man who was deeply moved by what happened. What would you do if Yahshua returned today in a guise that you did not recognize and did not expect? Would you call for his death? Or would you esteem him and glorify him? In the same way, if you meet a believer anointed with the Spirit of Yah and moving with signs and wonders, will you recognize him as a servant of Yah, or will you disdain him and insult him or her? Pilate continues. When the great excitement arose about the sepulchre being found empty, I felt a deeper solicitude than ever. I sent for Malchus, who told me he had placed his lieutenant, Ben Isham, with 100 soldiers around the sepulchre. He told me that Isham and the soldiers were very much alarmed at what had occurred there that morning. I sent for this man Isham, who related to me as near as I can recollect the following circumstances. He said that about the beginning of the fourth watch, there was a soft and beautiful light over the sepulchre. He had first thought that the women had come to embalm the body of Yahshua, as was their custom, but he could not see how they'd gotten through the guards. While these thoughts were passing through his mind, behold, the whole place was lighted up, and there seemed to be crowds of the dead in their grave clothes. All seemed to be shouting and filled with ecstasy, while all around and above was the most beautiful music he'd ever heard, and the whole air seemed to be full of voices praising Yah. At this time there seemed to be a reeling and swimming of the earth, so that he turned so sick and faint that he could not stand on his feet. He said the earth seemed to swim up from under him, and his senses left him, so that he knew not what did occur. Again, massive dramatic signs and wonders, and the believers, for the most part, didn't get it. And still haven't got it for the most part. Pilate continues. I asked him in what condition he was when he came to himself. He said he was lying on the ground with his face down. I asked him if he could not have been mistaken as to the light. Was it not day that was coming in the east? He said at first he thought of that, but at a stone's cast it was exceedingly dark, and then he remembered it was too early for day. I asked him if his dizziness might not have come from being wakened up and getting up too suddenly, as it sometimes had that effect. He said he was not, that he'd not been asleep at all night, as the penalty was death for him to sleep on duty. He said that he had let some of the soldiers sleep at a time. Some were asleep then. I asked him how long the scene lasted. He said he did not know, but he thought nearly an hour. He said it was hid by the light of day. I asked him if he went to the sepulchre after he'd come to himself. He said no, because he was afraid. That just as soon as relief came, they all went to their quarters. I asked him if he'd been questioned by the priests. He said he had. They wanted to say it was an earthquake and that they were asleep, and offered him money to say the disciples came and stole Yahshua. But he saw no disciples, and he did not know that the body was gone until he was told. I asked him what was the private opinion of those priests he'd conversed with. He said that some of them thought Yahshua was no man, that he was not a human being, that he was not the son of Mary, that he was not the same that was said to be born of the Virgin in Bethlehem, that the same persons had been on the earth before with Abram and Lot, and at many times and places. So again, we see this phenomenon. They wanted him to say it was an earthquake and that they were asleep, and offered him money to say the disciples came and stole Yeshua. That is the magnitude of the hardness of heart of the believing leaders of that time. And hear me, folks, the modern believing leaders are many times just like that today. I have gone to them with words from Yah and been ridiculed, dressed down, insulted. So if you're a believer and you're listening to this and say, well, I would never have done that, I ask you to check it out. Pilate continues, it seems to me that if the Jewish theory be true, these conclusions are correct, for they are in accord with this man's life, as is known and testified both friends and foes. For the elements were no more in his hands than the clay in the hands of the potter. He could convert water into wine. He could change death into life, disease into health. He could calm the seas, still the storms, call up fish with a silver coin in its mouth. Now I say, if he could do all these things, which he did, and many more, as the Jews all testify, and it was doing these things that created this enmity against him, he was not charged with criminal offenses, nor was he charged with violating any laws, nor of wronging any individual in person. And all these facts are known to thousands, as well by his foes as by his friends. I am almost ready to say, as Manlius at the stake incorrectly cross, truly this was the Son of Yah. Folks, I hope I've got your attention. I hope you're thinking differently about how you live the rest of your life. Yeshua came to show how it is possible to be a friend of Yah, how it is possible to have a deep relationship with Yah, how it is possible to be in a place where the Spirit of Yah can move through you and do miracles. Everything that Yeshua did is available to you if you will reach out and take it. And I will help you to do that. I made mistakes in my journey. I can't do all of that today. It's past, been there, done that. I will help you. Pilate wraps up, now noble sovereign. This is as near the facts in the case as I can arrive at. And I have taken pains to make this statement very full, so that you may judge of my conduct upon the whole, as I hear that Antipater has said many hard things of me in this matter. With the promise of faithfulness and good wishes to my noble sovereign, I am your most obedient servant, Pontius Pilate. So we see the nobility and the integrity and the observance of this man who, certainly at the beginning of this, was an unbeliever, but I would think by now had believed in the Creator and the one that he sent. The question is, do you believe in the Creator? Can you honestly say that Yah is your Father? Can you honestly say that you pray to him, that you talk to him, that he is your friend? If you can't, you're missing the whole point of why you're on earth. You're missing the whole point of why the earth is here, why the solar system is here, why the universe is here. In conclusion, this is an exceptionally important validation of the life, death, and resurrection of Yeshua that elaborates some key points not in the Bible. I cannot recommend this strongly enough. I hope you will find this of value. As you gathered, I've been deeply moved by this article, by this letter. It's important, folks. It validates what's in the Bible. Not because the Bible is the Word of God, but because the Bible is an important historical book. And by the way, it's not the Word of God, but that's a topic for another day. I've spoken about that at length before. Pray with me. Father Yah, in the name of Yeshua, I now recognize that you are real. I recognize that Yeshua died to take my sins. I come to you now in the name of Yeshua. I declare my belief in you. I ask you to take me by the hand and lead me and help me to become your friend. I want to make a difference on this earth. I want to sit on a high throne for eternity. Father Yah, help me. Take me as your child. Fill me with your spirit. And help me to make a difference on the earth. That's why Yeshua came. That's why he died the way he did, to make a way to make it easy for you to become a friend of Yah, for you to perform miracles, for you to make a difference on the earth. And if you're not doing it, my friend, you're missing the whole point of your existence. So we've got a bit of time left, so I'm going to pick up the first part of an article 2022-0701, the essence of what our Father wants from you. And in some way, this goes as a sequel to what I've just shared with you. I see a lot of fervent people engrossed with all sorts of cares and issues, but it seems to me that very few people ask the question, what does the Almighty Creator of the heavens and the earth really want from me? Based on my experience to date, I'll give you what I believe he wants from every believer on earth, including you. Note that he is not in the least bit interested in the unbelievers, those who do not believe he exists. He is only concerned about those that believe at some level. However, if you don't believe, or you didn't believe at the start of this broadcast and you now think, well, maybe you should, well, then pray the prayer with me that I just gave you a moment ago. It's not difficult to say, Father Yah, in the name of Yeshua, I now believe that you are real. I give you my life. I ask you to come and dwell in me. Fill me with your spirit. Take me by the hand. Help me to get to know you. Bring the people you want into my life. Take the people you don't want in my life out. Open the doors you want opened in my life. Close the doors you want closed in my life. Show me what to read and what not to read. Show me where to go, where not to go. Help me to become the person you created me to be. Father, I pray for every person listening to this broadcast right now. In the name of Yeshua, I ask you to move mightily on them now. Amen. So point number one, what does Father want from you? Draw intensely close to him and develop a deep personal relationship with him. This entire universe, this solar system, this planet, the plants, the animals, and human beings exist for one reason only: to have a deep personal relationship with the Almighty Creator, because he was lonely. If you do not have such a relationship with him, you've completely missed the point of your existence. See the article, The Essence of My Message, Read the History of Our World Today on the website. And Creator Desires Friends and the Creator Desires Deep Relationship, also on the website. There's a large diversity of material on the website to help you get to learn about the Creator, get to know what he's looking for from you, help you to get close to him. If you've just believed, there's an article there, What to Do When You Come to First Belief. It's near the bottom of the website. There is plenty of material there to help you. There's 8 days from the day that you say, yeah, I believe you exist, to really clean up your act. Find that article, it's there, and apply it. There's another article about 70 pages 7 components of drawing close to Yah. If you have been walking with him for a while, but you're not really close to him, I suggest you dig that article out, also on the website, and put it into practice. Folks, this is not nammy-pammy church stuff or mosque stuff or synagogue stuff or temple stuff or whatever. This is about a deep personal relationship between you and the Creator, not through me, not through any other human being, direct, you to him. All I am is a facilitator to help you to get there. Then seek to become his friend. As noted above, fundamentally the Creator wants you to become his friend. See the articles on the website, Creator Desires Friends, Essence of Becoming a Friend of Yah, and Critical Elements of Becoming a Friend. See the articles on the demographics of the kingdom and the mountain of Yah, the mountain of relationship and the demographics of the kingdom, for discussion of the ranks in heaven and on earth available to you. Note the discussion of the different ranks of committed true believers in heaven and on earth, and the progression is available to each and every one of us. Yah wants you to climb to the top of the mountain and become his friend, or better still, a general, a friend who's going out and doing major works for Yah. If you look on the cover page for the broadcast, you will see a rugged mountain. And that speaks to getting close to Yah. A friend is one who's at the top of that mountain. They've climbed up this rugged. It's not easy to become a friend. Don't get me wrong. The reward is huge. Throne next to Yahooshua for eternity. Massive power, massive authority, massive glory. It's there for you. You just have to go and look for it. And it takes effort. It takes time. It takes fasting. It takes prayer. It takes worship. But it's there for you. Anyone. I don't care if you're the most outrageous Satanist on the planet today. Yah wants you to become his friend, and he will help you to become his friend. Just say now, Yah, I believe you exist. Help me to become your friend. And then do whatever you find to do day after day. 3, dialogue with Yah constantly and engage with him and ask his counsel in every aspect of your life. An inevitable extension of the above points is our Father in heaven wants each and every believer to dialogue with him constantly and engage with him and ask his counsel in every aspect of your life. He created us so that he could be friends with us. To put this all in context, the Almighty has said, I created human beings, this planet and this universe, for men and women to be my friends, my companions, to explore and learn and develop together. My greatest grief is that almost no person understands this, let alone seek such a relationship with me. Are you such a person? Forget about the stuff that he's a prophet or she's a prophetess or whatever. Or God stopped speaking to us after prophet so-and-so. Nonsense, folks. The whole reason we exist is to have conversation with Yah, to be his friends, to talk about things, to involve him in what we do. And he stopped talking to us? How crazy is that? It takes time, it takes experience, it takes practice. You can hear him, you can have a clear dialogue with him minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day for the rest of your life, if you choose to seek it. It's there for you, really. Been there. Point number 4. Clean up your life and live free of and above sin. A necessary part of achieving the above is that you need to clean up your life and get free of sin and then live above sin. Yahooshua was victorious because he lived without sin. See the articles on the website, Essence, Cleansing and Deliverance, and What is Required to Live Above Sin. When I first started talking about living above sin, people said I was crazy. It's not that difficult. Sin is breaking one of the 10 commandments. 10 commandments are relatively straightforward. First of all, only worship Yah. Secondly, no idols. Thirdly, don't take his name in vain, and so on and so forth. Observe the Sabbaths. Honor your father and your mother. Don't commit a murder. Don't commit adultery. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't lust. It's actually not that difficult once you get a fix on it. Forget about the 613 mitzvots and the other bureaucratic nonsense that people teach. Yah wants to be in you, with his spirit in you, guiding you, and he will tell you what to do if you give him place and if you listen to him and fast regularly. Then point number 5, worship daily. If you're serious about getting close to Father, then daily worship for him for at least an hour a day is not negotiable. Focus on him. Make love to him. See the articles, recommended worship songs, and some powerful worship songs on the website for recommended songs. Most other songs are corrupt and should be avoided. Folks, I'm out of time. The rest of this article is available on the website. I'm going to move on, and I'm going to ask you, in the light of all that I've said to this broadcast, what is the state of your relationship with the Almighty Creator? I'd like to ask you to critically examine where you are relative to the Almighty Creator. Do you talk to him constantly throughout the day and allow him to lead you in every possible way? Are you conscious of him at all times? Do you worship him at every opportunity? Do you count him your friend? Have you clearly and unambiguously heard him call you friend? If not, you're failing in your life purpose, and you will be bitterly disappointed when you die. I can't stress it enough. He wants you to be his friend. He wants you to have a relationship with him. He wants you to start now. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, tall or short, fat or thin, blonde, blue eyes, brown eyes, black hair, anything in between, African, Indian, Asian, European, Caucasian, whatever, Methodist, Muslim, Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, Satanist, Muslim. It doesn't matter. He wants you to be his friend. He wants to have a relationship with you, and he wants to start right now. Just pray the prayer that I gave you a few minutes ago. So in closing, thank you for listening. Please send me your questions to james@endtimeissueministries.org. Please email me to join the mailing list at james@endtimeissueministries.org. If you decide to draw close to the Almighty, please let me know, and I can help, and I can connect with you by Skype, Zoom, Teams, email, or telephone so that I can help you with your journey. I hope to connect with you again next week when I'll continue to explore how to become a friend of the Creator. Work with me to make a way for Yeshua to return in victory at the end of the millennium and make his enemies his footstool. Folks, I'm going to wrap up here with the people who listen regularly, and I'm going to say good night to you in a moment. For those of you who are here for the first time or the first few times, there's some information I'd like to share with you after this, so just hang on and stay on board. Father Yah, in the name of Yeshua, I ask you to put your hand on every person listening to this broadcast tonight, or today, or whenever they listen to it. I ask you to touch them in a way that they know that they've encountered you. I thank you that you pour out your spirit on them, and I thank you that they make a decision to believe that you are true, that you are real, and that you want a relationship with them. Folks, that's it for today. As I say, if you've been along for a while, you might want to drop off now. If you're new or relatively new, please stay on. I've got something I want to share with you. So I'm going to say good night to those of you who are leaving. Go well. So in closing, who am I? James Robertson. I have a doctorate in engineering and I'm a retired military commander. I now work as a management consultant. I have over 31 years' experience of actively seeking to draw close to the Almighty following a dramatic encounter with him on the 12th of March, 1993, when he spoke to me audibly in a locked room, and I knew for certain that he was real. In learning about Father, I applied my deep-seated aversion to failure born out of an accident in early childhood, coupled to my engineering and military training of rigor in preventing failure, to my seeking of knowledge about Father. This journey led to numerous supernatural experiences, prayers answered, and clear communication with the Creator that forms the basis for what I teach in these programs. See the video, Why Seek Relationship, for an overview of what I believe, on the website near the top. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org. That's endtimeissueministries, one word.org. The ETI version of the Bible with the correction of key translation errors is on the website on the ETI Bible version page. Recordings of nearly all the teachings broadcast so far. Search on Google for Relationship with Creator Radio, and you'll find 3 or 4 podcast websites with the back issues. They're also on the website. If you look at the transcripts of broadcasts page, you'll find transcripts of all but the most recent broadcasts on the website with links to recordings. Books with teachings from 1998 till May 2019 are at the Books for Printing page. You can download them. They're formatted PDFs with covers. I publish regular email articles. Email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org to be added to the list or to seek counsel, prayer, or give me feedback. I publish an article, at least one article every week, and if you're on the mailing list, you'll get a series of emails once a week. Visit the website and use the Google search, article keyword cloud, table of contents, and article search to locate the information you're looking for. A lot of information there. May well find answers to your questions. So with that, I'm going to say good night. I hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much. Cheerio.
Father, I come to you, lifting up my hands. By your grace I stand, just because you love me. I know your favor.
Hi, I'm James Robertson. I want to share with you the letter of Pontius Pilate, the governor of Judea, at the time of Yahooshua to Caesar, the emperor of Rome. I draw some important learnings from this article to share with you, and conclude that if you're not actively seeking a high throne for eternity, you're missing the point of your existence. Please listen to my broadcast on w4cy.com radio or talk4tv.com internet television. Visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org or email me on the james@endtimeissueministries.org email address to find out more. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.